Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Let Me Tell You Why podcast with Jeremy Jacobowitz. I am your host, Jeremy Jacobowitz. And today, we're talking about a topic that is deeply personal to me, but I think can relate to everyone. And so just like an overarching look at like when influencers weren't cool. And I'll get into it obviously in a few minutes, but there was a time when influencers weren't cool, and it's a time that I really miss. And I think that like the internet would be better if we got back to that place. But we'll talk about them, specifically food influencers, because that's my perspective, but truly the influencer thing in general. And this is a time when the word influencer didn't even exist. But anyway, we'll get to that. Of course, restaurant news, of course, what I'm into, of course, what you may have missed. But before we get into everything else, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. It means everything that you're here. The podcast is a passion project. It is a love note to you guys to appreciate the ones that listen. If you want to show some appreciation back, obviously continue listening, but make sure you subscribe wherever you watch or listen to this. Make sure you comment, make sure you leave a 5-star review, make sure you do all those things. Share the podcast, walk down the street, be like, hey, did you hear the new Let Me Tell You podcast? It's pretty fucking sweet. Put it on stories, do whatever you want. Let the people know about the podcast, and that'd be great. And as another thank you to you, of course, merch is still on sale, only for you. JeremyJShop.com. Use the code April12. Save 12% on everything. Exiled Soundzo merch. Let me tell you why merch. I'm wearing today the Never Toast, the Fresh Bagel merch. Summer's coming up. We got shorts, we got tees, we got baseball hats, dad hats, whatever you want. It's all there. Check it out. JeremyJStore.com. Did I say the wrong email address? I have too many URLs in my head. JeremyJShop.com is where you want to go for all your merch needs. But let's get into some restaurant news. Strange Delight, the seafood restaurant in Fort Greene, is launching the first ever brunch menu taking inspiration from New Orleans. Standouts include a breakfast sandwich with eggs, cheese, watercress, and pepper jelly, all on a house-made honey butter roll. Man, a salt and sweet jalapeno cornbread, a seafood tower fry basket, and a muffaletta sandwich of ham, salami, mortadella, provolone, and a spicy olive relish, all on a house-made sesame bread. Sounds amazing, actually. And I'm looking at this cornbread, a salty and sweet jalapeno cornbread. Oh my god. Sama, S-A-M-A, Sama Za is a new pizza and cocktail spot opening in Hell's Kitchen from the team behind Monkey Thief. It's supposed to feel like a classic New York City pizza joint, but will have pies all made with a 72-hour fermented dough with lots of fun toppings. Think a Saved by the Shell, that is their version of a New Haven clam pie, or Corn to be Wild, which is inspired by Mexican street corn. Interesting pizzas. The drinks menu is also super playful, thinking TMNT Negroni with Parmesan washed tomato water. Sounds really good, actually. You know what I had the other day? When I was at Burro Brine here in Williamsburg. The video should be coming. I'm still working on it. I'm not a big martini person because I don't really like vodka or gin. But my friend who was with dinner got like a vodka martini, and it had this like pickled tomato in there as like the pickleness. And I tasted it. I was like, ooh, this tastes so good, but I don't want vodka or gin. So the cocktail dude came over and I was like, hey, could I get this with tequila? And he was like, dude, I've been working on this recipe that's this drink with tequila, and then we whip it up for you. And it was like this blended tequila using a couple different ones. I don't really remember, but it was really good. I was like, damn, do I have a new drink? A tequila? Am I a tequila martini person now? I forget what that's called. It definitely has to be called something, but maybe let's make it a thing. Fat Ronnie's Burger Bar is the cult favorite from Martha's Vineyard and now opening in the West Village. Tons of burgers and sandwiches on the menu. The Fat Ronnie is a black Angus beef burger with American cheese. These patties are thick, by the way. They have turkey burgers, veggie burgers, chicken sandwiches too. Big ol' lineup. Patsy's Pizzeria, the iconic original coal oven pizzeria, is now open in the Freehands in New York. All the classics are there. Of course, a super thin pizza, pastas, and more. Gui Steakhouse, the incredible Korean steakhouse and Michelin-starred chef Sung Jul Shim, is launching a brand new lunch menu. At the heart of it is going to be satbap, which are Korean rice bowls cooked to order. So you're going to be able to get like salmon, prime galbi, Hamburg steak, black pepper steak, Wagyu kimchi fried rice, and more. They're also going to have a 3-course express lunch of $48 per person and an a la carte menu that will have tonkatsu, mushroom risotto, and a steakhouse banh mi with a side of pho jus for dipping. Looks great. And finally, the Comic Club. Chef Jesse Schenker has a brand new restaurant, the Comic Club, which opens April 13th in Westbury, New York. Highlights on the menu include a garlic bread made from a house-made sourdough focaccia of confit garlic, stracciatella, and parm. Oh my god! A prime ribeye French dip, and a dry-aged duck al pastor fajitas. So there you go. A little non-New York City location. We're gonna head out east for that one, but that one sounds incredible. Okay, so let's get into what you may have missed. So I could talk about the Shivka pita collab that I had at Peter Luger's, but you can't eat that one anymore, so don't waste your time. But it will talk about Philly. The Philly content has been rolling out this week. I was in Philly last week. The first post I did was Philly's most underrated food city in America, maybe the world. It got a big reaction. It's this funny thing where anytime I say that a food city is underrated, the reaction is this. People that live there, half those people are like, yeah, thank you for like recognizing our city. We understand that like we are not New York or LA, but we have incredible food and like, yes, shine a light on us. The other half of that city is always like, what do you mean? Our food is incredible. You're just stupid. You're just ignorant. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I travel all over this country, travel all over this world. And yes, I'm always going to have a New York bias towards everything. But I promise you, not enough people talk about the Philadelphia food scene. That is why it's underrated. I know you live in Philadelphia and you love the food and you think that this is the greatest food of all time. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but you act like everyone around the world knows that is absolutely fucking stupid. I promise you, people don't talk about the Philadelphia food scene. Someone who comments like, well, they have Michelin, so how could that be underrated? Michelin literally came to Philadelphia for the first time last year, thus proving my point that is underrated and people don't talk about and people don't know. And yes, maybe that narrative is changing and maybe the Michelin helps change that narrative. And maybe some of my videos help change that narrative. But I promise you, it is underrated. People don't understand until they get there. Everyone still thinks Philly is some trash hole where they just serve cheesesteaks. And I'm trying to help with my videos and then you fucking complain. Oh my God. But anyway, videos were rolling out from there. I was there for like 3 days. Incredible meals. As I said, one of my favorite food cities. Had another incredible cheesesteak, of course, because I always got to get one of the cheesesteaks while I'm there. I got to get one, but actually ended up getting two. I don't know. I don't think either one of those videos will be out by the time this podcast goes out. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out soon. But the ones that are out are kind of did like a photo roundup with everything, a little teaser, and then Middle Child Clubhouse is maybe the best breakfast I've ever had. I've been there a few times now. The honey butter pancakes. Oh my God, has like a little orange in there. Oh God, one of the best breakfast burritos. They use lot good hash browns. Whew, damn. But they added just the week I was there. They added this what they're calling mid griddle. Their take on a McGriddle pancake sandwich. Oh man. Like this like custardy egg in the middle, crispy sausage. But the key to the whole thing is their spicy maple syrup sauce. It's like this like thick, sweet, little heat sauce that I want on literally everything. But yeah, great time in Philadelphia. As always, I gorged myself on food. Felt a little ill coming home after it. But what a great food city. What a great sorry. If you're watching this, you see me like fidgeting with my fucking mic. It's not staying still. Okay, there we go. Just had to tighten it up. But yeah, that's basically, okay, and I'm going to be updating the guide, my Philadelphia guide in Substack too, jeremysub.com or morsels.food. I forget that's also the second URL sometimes. I'll be updating that once all the videos are up, and I'll kind of do a rounds of video too, and YouTube videos, so stay tuned for all of that. But Philadelphia, you rocked it. Okay, so let's get into the main topic, and that is when influencers weren't cool, when food influencers weren't cool. And I'm going to preface all of this because I think it's going to be very easy to hear what I have to say and just kind of have a reaction of like, well, you're just kind of like bitter and old. There's probably some truth to that. I am getting older. I'm not so bitter, but I think it comes with a little bitterness. But I think this is something we could all relate to, and maybe it is just sort of like a story of just kind of getting old too. But I have been creating content on the internet since 2009 when I graduated college. Probably before that too, but like officially I started like my YouTube channel in 2009. And for a very long time, the only people like this is way before influencers. That word didn't even exist. So for a very long time, the only people really making content on the internet were weirdos. They were nerds. They were people that were so passionate about something that they had something to say and they made videos. And people love them for that because at the end of the day, we're all a nerd for something, whether it's, video games or food or, even like makeup tutorials or, whatever it is. The people making the content on the internet were that. They were the nerds, they were the weirdos, they were the ones that had something to say. And I was sort of part of that. Not that I was posting consistently for a lot of that, or like a big part of that for a lot of it, but I was a person just posting food videos, or for not even video, some videos, but mostly photos and stuff. But just because like this is what I nerd out about, this is what I was really passionate about, this is what I love doing. There was no money to me. There was some money to be made on YouTube, I guess, but like not a lot at the time, especially at the beginning. There was no money to be made on Instagram. TikTok didn't exist also. So it really was like you're only posting stuff and gaining traction because you're just a nerd. And I think, listen, that certainly changed, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I think that like my journey with it is like a lot of those people's journeys and everyone's journey too. It's like everybody just, you want to find your place in the world. And I think we've like overreached a little bit. I think this like main character thing has gone too far. You are not the main character. I'm not the main character. Nobody's the main character. But I also think that there's something lovely about finding your place and what makes you special and striving for that and looking for that. And I think that like I was someone that really struggled with that. I always felt like you go back to your childhood and high school and middle school, specifically, I think when you think about this. And it kind of like I was just always a person like I was never the most popular person, but I was also never like the least popular. I always kind of just like found myself in the middle somewhere. Like I was friends with everyone and it was a small high school and didn't really find any issues, but I didn't feel like I excelled in any way at anything. It was sort of like perfectly in the middle. And I got through college and I kind of felt the same way. Maybe going even further down in like the popular thing colleges because like I wasn't the person partying or going out really. I was like I was working. I was interning, I was doing whatever, and I loved work. And I did always feel like work was a place that like made me stand out, I guess, or feel special. I just felt like, okay, work is a place I could outwork anyone and shine here. And I kind of did like when I was an intern for SNY, like, I don't know. I definitely worked harder than most people. Was I the best intern ever? I don't know, but I was there for almost 2 years, and that says something because most interns everywhere, but really at SNY, like you stay for a quarter and then you're gone. And I was like, I don't really want to leave. I'm going to keep being here and going from department to department, but still never felt like, okay, I'm excelling at something that like made me unique and special. And then, started working in TV and doing that stuff. And again, like you were looking for that thing and striving for that thing. And then, this is a few years down the line, I guess, and we're, making videos on the internet and my Instagram's taken off. And it finally just felt like, oh, I found what makes me special. I found what makes me unique. Here's this Instagram account, taking everything from my background. I worked in food at that point for a few years. I'd worked in TV at that point for a long time. I've always been passionate with food my entire life. And I'm putting out to the world and everyone's paying attention. And everyone's like, I am feeling like the popular kid for the first time in my life. You know what I mean? Literally, you're gaining followers. And it's all because of like me being so passionate about what I was nerdy about, which was food. And you saw that across the board of influencers. And again, I want to stick to more of the food influencers just because I have more perspective on that. But like, yeah, like if you looked at the original core food influencers on Instagram, this is already over 12 years ago, maybe. It was literally just people that really loved food. You know, we were documenting eating food because we loved it. We were shooting photos on our shitty iPhones or whatever when the photos were terrible and sharing those horrible photos because we just really liked doing it. There was no incentive to do it. Yeah, you could gain followers, but you didn't really monetize. It's always cool to gain followers, but like there was not this monetization aspect to it. It was literally like, oh wow, people really care about what I'm, you know, uh, what I'm passionate about. And I think there was just like a really niceness to it across the internet. You know, you look at social media 12 years ago, it was totally different. It was nice because there was no clout chasing, there was no money chasing. It was literally just posting for the love of it and the passion of it. And the weirdos, I don't know, I just felt like the weirdos had won. For the first time ever, the weirdos, the nerds, had won. We were the popular kids then, you know. And then it started to shift. And the shift I feel like happened um before TikTok for sure on like the general influencer side cuz as soon as like influencers became a thing, the first flip, the first turn of it going from just these nerds was the lifestyle girlies on Instagram. Really the first people to monetize Instagram hardcore were girls that knew how to take pretty photos of themselves and then were able to sell stuff around that. And that started gaining traction. Then it kind of became like, well, if you're just, and listen, not to take anything else away from them, like to say anything else about their intelligence or drive or work or motivation or anything else. I'm just a huge generalization here, okay? What happened on Instagram was the prettier you were, the more put together you were, the more curated you were, the everything you were. The more followers you got, the more money you made. And that's when social media started changing. Because all of a sudden, the cool kids realized, hey, wait a minute. We're the cool kids. We could do this also. And that was the first wave of it. And then you got to TikTok, and TikTok was the next shift because TikTok lowered the barrier of entry to like try and get a following going. Instagram was a little stagnant at the time in terms of growth. So if you hadn't started a few years early, it was really hard to get into. And TikTok let everyone else in. And then that shift really happened. And again, I want to just kind of focus on the food world. The shift happened there where it all of a sudden felt like the bigger accounts, the videos that were viral, the people that were growing fastest, the people dominating were not those people that just wanted to do it because they love food. It was people that were doing it because they realized that there was an opportunity in this online space to make money and gain clout and get famous. And food's a relatively easier space to get into than something else. And it sucks for a few reasons. I think personally it sucked because it kind of felt like, damn, like you guys had everything. You know what I mean? Like you guys are good looking and again, huge generalizations here. But you guys are good looking and you come from enough money and you're highly intelligent and you could really do anything in this world and probably succeed at it. Why did it have to be my job? Why did it have to be the job that I spent so many years trying to put together and find out and like this journey to figure out what made me feel special is now being taken away by the people that always take it away, you know? That thing of like, damn, the cool kids won again. I couldn't just have this. I couldn't just have this weird little job that, yeah, you know, you get something, you know, listen, I was making good money and I'm still making good money. And then you have a lot of followers and I still have a lot of followers. But like, you couldn't just let us have this one. Could have just let us have it. So on a personal note, it was annoying and like kind of like defeating of like, damn, like this was my thing. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm like, gatekeeping or whatever the hell. And it's the internet. Anyone can do whatever they want. It just, just truly how I feel, about it. And then I also think the content changed. Listen, it was always a viral game for the most part. There was always people from the beginning that just chased virality, and those people did really well on the internet always. But I think it's gone even deeper into that. I think it's become gamified in a way that like these people truly don't care about the food or the restaurants or storytelling or anything. It's just, hey, what's cool? I want to be cool, so I want to make a food video. And then like I am inherently cool and good looking and young, so my videos are generally going to do better. And that's just how it works. That's how the internet works. And I think like the true passion across the board in a food influencers has dropped, which is why you see people go to the same places over and over and over and over and over again. They don't care to look for something unique and different. They don't care. They will go back to the same place everyone else is going to because one, they don't give a shit to look for anything else. Two, that is sort of how the system is set up now. Go do what's viral. Go find what's viral. Go eat what everyone else is eating. That's best. Why bother doing anything else? And I think we've lost something. And listen, this is not to say that, again, these are big generalizations. You might be thinking of someone and you might be, no, they're not like this. And of course, I'm sure there is, and I know there are young, good-looking people on the newer side of this thing that are super creative and doing really cool stuff on the internet, 1,000,000%. But there's also a billion other people that are not. And I think that's my biggest problem with it. And you know what kind of made me think about this, not that I don't think about this a lot, but there was the Yes Chef Festival this weekend in LA. And I know Jack, and this isn't like, if you're thinking, oh, you're talking about Jack. No, I actually think, I mean, sort of. But personally, I think Jack is actually like one of the nicer people in this whole world. I think he actually does really like food. And he crushes it. And, there's always going to be a little jealousy about anyone that does better than you. But jealousy doesn't mean you have any ill will towards them. Like, I think what he's doing is incredible. But I'm watching this festival and I'm just like, damn, the cool kids took over, partying and throwing tuna everywhere and, clout chasing and blah, 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 blah. And everyone's incredibly good looking. And I'm like, I don't know, just like, damn, you took it. You took it from us. You took the one thing I had. And listen, at the end of the day, I've said over and over again, what I get out of this is incredible. But listen, I'm truly here to share these restaurants. And no matter who is posting about these foods, whether they're cool or not, or, whatever, quote unquote, quote, 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 if these videos do well and restaurants do well, then that is like the purpose of all this. So who am I to complain? Who am I to complain? I've had a 10 plus full-time career that's been making videos on the internet since 2009, and I'm still here. Right? A lot of people that aren't still here. I'm still doing, am I getting 20 million views on my videos? No. Am I getting hundreds of thousands views in every single video? Yes. Am I growing across all platforms? Yes. Am I still making money? Yes. I'm very, very, very lucky, and I shouldn't even I shouldn't have to complain about this. But the podcast is, a soapbox for me to talk about this kind of stuff. So, and I think going back to that whole original thing, this is a podcast about getting older. I'm going to be 39 in June. And no matter who you are, no matter what you do, there's always going to be younger people. There's always going to be cooler people. There's always going to be better looking people, especially as you age. And listen, obviously I could complain about it. That's what this podcast is, but I don't think I'm bitter about it in any way. I think that there's a difference too of like, you don't want to be bitter about it because that is life. And you'll be bitter to the day you die if you're bitter about getting older. There's good things about getting older too, obviously. But I do think that like we've lost something of the internet culture when the cool kids won. And I think that's what's happened. And I think that's what's the bummer. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, DM me, post about it. put a pigeon out there. What don't you guys think? But before we go, let's talk about what I'm into this week. So I started playing Cyberpunk years later. And the reason why years later was I played it a little bit right when it first came out. They did right when it first came out, like it got trampled because it was really, really, really buggy. So I waited. And then they had like a free weekend or something on Xbox, maybe a few months in. And I played it, couldn't really get into it. I was like, okay. And then I was like, you know what? It's a game I really want to get into. I think it just takes more time. I was like, I'll wait for the price to drop at some point. It'll be cheap and I'll just get it. Years later, that price drop never came. I think it's still selling for full price. But it was added to Xbox Game Pass, which means it's free for me. And I finally started playing Cyberpunk, and I really like it. It is so deep. The story has so many layers. The city is so big and expansive and really fun. And I do think it feels a lot better than it did a few years ago. So they definitely tweaked it to, I don't know, be easier, but just like feel better as a game. And is it the greatest game I've ever played? No, but I think like I'm having more enjoyment digging deep into the game than most games. I mean, this game is probably like, if you really want to do everything, it's like hundreds of hours long game. So I'm trying to just kind of finish the main story, and I think that's probably going to be 50 plus hours. We'll see how far I get to it. But so far, 2 weeks in, I'm having a blast, and it's on Game Pass. Win, 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 win. And then let's talk about Love Story, because I talked about that a few weeks ago. I talked about it after I'd watched the first couple of episodes, and I really was into it. So passionate about it, really liked it, really thought it was cool. But the second half, and we just watched the finale. Spoilers ahead, I guess, but if you don't know how the show ends, I don't know why you're watching it. The show, you know how a goddamn show ends, essentially. I will say the second half of the season fell off a cliff. After they got married, I started feeling like these episodes are so boring. I was literally in my head, I'm like, just get to it. Get to the end. We all know what's happening. Get there. And then we got there. And I do think I still overall enjoyed the show. It's only 9 episodes or whatever. And I love JFK Jr. I do think that, like, I don't know if the show was fair to either one of them. I think that listen, I don't know every last detail about their lives. None of us do. None of us know every last detail about the end of their lives. We know essentially what happens. But one, I think that they didn't allow these characters to be fully developed. I think you left JFK Jr. kind of being this like dumb doofus, lovable doofus guy. And I'm sure that was part of who he was in real life, but I don't know. As much as I've dug into him, it doesn't really seem like that's who he is. And to leave his character as that, the big dumb doofy guy that literally fucking killed himself, his wife, and his sister-in-law because of how dumb he is. Again, there's partial truth to that, but I don't really think it's fair to him. And to leave Carolyn as this person that, like, I don't know, had so little depth other than like, is this the person I love or not? And like, that's a next 4 episodes as opposed to anything else in her life, I think is unfair. And, they also left it as like the perfect love story, dying in each other's arms and now in heaven together or whatever. And I think that like a little bit more of reality would have been good. I know that wasn't the story you were trying to tell, but this is based on real people. And like, it certainly seemed that towards the end of their lives, their relationship in real life was far messier than the TV show let on. And I just think if you are taking real people's lives, and as much as you want to say this is fiction, as you say at the top of every episode, and based on reality, but not really reality, I still think these things become reality. And I think it's a disservice to them to lie about who they were and lie about what the end was and not fully form these characters, because these were real people and didn't feel like they were real people by the end of the series. And yeah, it's still worth the watch. I still really liked it. I wish it was like less episodes, just get to it, or like better episodes towards the end. But we got there. And that's Love Story. And that's the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. I will remember to like, share, like, do all those things, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.